Shut them down. We'll need them later.
Halo Infinite is attempting to replicate Combat Evolved in several ways, and one of the biggest ways it's doing that is with its setting. Set on the Halo ring known as Installation 7, or Zeta Halo, the game definitely very clearly seems to be crafting a similar atmosphere and sense of discovery as what the first game in the series evoked when it was released 2 decades ago. Before we go ahead, a quick request. We upload new videos every single day, and your subscription matters a lot. So please consider subscribing and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. With that out of the way, let's begin. As exciting as that is though, there's so much else about Zeta Halo that makes it quite an intriguing setting for the game. But what the hell exactly is Installation 7? It's been passingly referenced in the games a few times, and has received a lot of backstory in several books, and with all that put together, it's got some really interesting lore and backstory attached to it. Zeta Halo is the oldest surviving Halo ring, originally created as part of the original 12 installations made by the Forerunners. Zeta Halo, then known as Gyre 11, managed to be the only ring in that entire array that could survive the Forerunners' war with the Flood. Unlike the second Halo array comprising of 6 new rings, the rings in the original array were built to be much larger, with each having a diameter of 30,000 kilometers, thrice as large as the rings in the second array. By the time it was repurposed as Installation 7 and made part of the second array, however, Zeta Halo, which had been put through the ringer in a grueling conflict between the Forerunners and the Flood, which led to its damaged parts being shed and the ring's size being reduced to a diameter of 10,000 kilometers, same as the rings in the new array. That conflict in particular, in fact, is what defines the history of Installation 7. Like other Halo rings, Zeta Halo wasn't just made as a superweapon to wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy. It was also part of a special Forerunner project known as the Conservation Measure, which was a massive undertaking to index and preserve biological life and diversity in the galaxy. Zeta Halo was dedicated to the preservation of humanity, which meant its topography, flora, and fauna were created to replicate the surface of Earth in several ways. At that time, roughly 100,000 years before the events of the mainline Halo series, the ring was under the command of a Forerunner known as Master Builder Faber, who, in his insistence on fighting the Flood by all means necessary, would use the humans inhabiting the ring in experiments to try and discover a cure for the Flood parasite. As you might imagine, these experiments were ultimately pointless. The Forerunner-Flood conflict on the ring came to a head when the Forerunners fired the ring as part of a test, and as a result, inadvertently ended up awakening and freeing a Flood grave mind known as the Primordial. The Primordial was brought onto Zeta Halo for interrogation and studying, which of course proved to be a terrible decision. The Primordial forced the onset of rampancy in the installation's monitor, 32 Mendicant Bias, one of the most advanced Forerunner AIs of the time, and with its help took control of the ring. A long and difficult fight followed, which ended with the defeat of the Primordial and the Forerunners managing to take back Zeta Halo, which, as we mentioned earlier, was badly damaged and had to be reduced to a third of its size. Later on, Zeta Halo would be used by the Forerunners along with the other 6 Halo rings to wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy in an effort to prevent the Flood from taking over everything. Roughly 100,000 years later, at the time the Halo games are taking place, the Zeta Halo is still out there. It was very nearly remotely activated as well, at first being put on standby during the Human Covenant conflict on Installation 5, also known as Delta Halo, during the events of Halo 2, and then being remotely deactivated by Master Chief during the battle that took place on Installation 00 in Halo 3. A few years later, humanity finally discovered the location of Zeta Halo thanks to the efforts of Luther Mann, a Forerunner expert. It was discovered that Zeta Halo's topography and life support systems had recovered from the damage they had sustained roughly 100,000 years ago, now very nearly replicating the surface and atmosphere of Earth. A joint force of humans and Sangheili, or elites as we like to call them, undertook the task of heading to, occupying, and studying Zeta Halo. Eventually, in addition to several scientists and researchers, Installation 7 also had a sizable military presence. Of course, it turns out to be no match for the might of the Banished. We know that by the time Halo Infinite kicks off, the Banished has decimated UNSC forces on Installation 7 and taken control of the ring. Under the leadership of War Chief Escharum, who seems to be working with an unknown and mysterious entity known as the Harbinger, The Banished intend to use Zeta Halo as part of their war on humanity. How exactly they plan to do that and what the Harbinger has to do with all of it, or even the Harbinger is for that matter, remains to be seen. Right now, all we know is Master Chief is on the ring and intends to stop the Banished from doing whatever they plan on doing. The setup is an interesting one as it is, but what makes it even more interesting is the fact that it's all taking place on Installation 7. Zeta Halo has a complicated and rich history in the Halo universe, and the possibilities of how that could be used for the game's purposes are endless. It's worth noting, of course, that 343 Industries have said that they want to avoid the mistakes they made with Halo 4 and not make the story too reliant on any expanded universe media, instead wanting to craft a self-sufficient narrative that even newcomers will be able to perfectly enjoy. So does that mean Zeta Halo is merely going to serve as the backdrop for the conflict between humans and the Banished, and that all the lore and backstory associated with the location is going to be ignored? Well, not necessarily. There's every chance that the game will delve into Zeta Halo's story in order to flesh out the setting's own history. Perhaps there's some key details in Zeta Halo's past that make it crucial to the Banished plans. Either way, we're excited to find out because one way or another, Installation 7 promises to be an exciting setting for the game.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below. And if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and we would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.